Good evening, friend. You see behind me here that I've been busy for the last few weeks, and I had originally planned that this second episode should focus on the glass, and but I understand that, of course, you would like to see the livestock, the corals, how they're looking. So past me talking or making me maybe boring you with the glass, I will roll some of the movies I showed. Now, I said it previously that I would really like to have your help to make this tank a lot better or a lot more satisfactory than my previous tank, the one I show in this picture now. So please, I share and I really enjoyed those of you who commented, and I hope that more will start doing that and interact so we can improve, or I can improve. So thank you for taking the time and taking the effort to doing the comment. Now, planning this episode about glass, I discovered that my mind works like an engineer's. Because when I started planning it, it's like, I'm going to talk about the glass, and I want this tank to be a lot better than the old one. So I made a list of 7 items and take one example of it's not just engineers doing items, but one of the examples is like the overflow box. The overflow box in this tank, it has the dimension of 20 by 20, but in the old tank it was 25 by 25. So I've reduced the size 5 centimeters, both in depth and width, in this tank. And if you calculate the area, which maybe at least I do, it's a 36% reduced area in that tank for the flow, for the overflow box, if I made it correctly. I hope that's going to be embarrassing, else maybe I'm not a good engineer. But I started calculating, and then when I looked at my list of 7 items of 7 features, which I improved a lot more with this tank, then I'm like, oh shit, this is really boring. Maybe it's going to attract a fellow engineer reefer, but maybe I want to attract more than just engineering reefers. So let's screw that list. If you just take a step back, actually, starting with the old tank and then going for the new tank with pictures. Actually, with the old tank, I think the dimensions, proportions was a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, unfortunately. This becomes a very wide screen tank, but it's going to favor in maintainability, but aspect wise, yeah, I have to give it to the old tank. It was a little bit better. But screw the list, and yes, why? Yeah, what we have here in the back is, this tank is 180 centimeters long. It's 60 centimeters deep and 45 centimeters high. And starting with the height, the old tank was 60 and I reduced it to 45, and that eases my accessibility. It's going to make maintenance and coral, working with the corals a lot easier. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. And on the width, the reason why I made it 180 centimeters wide was I want to avoid having the frag tank to the right. I want to store or house the fragmentation in this tank. So I figured by an additional 30 centimeters, I can probably fit a frag tank in the bottom of the sump or in the sump area. Or I actually initially planned to even keep frags here on the left, because that is where I had the frag tank. But now actually I replanned it because I'm going to have a refugium, or a acropora refugium. Actually, it's going to be not a red refugium, it's going to be an acropora or montipora refugium in the sump. So So I'm going to do scape here. And now I actually think that, for instance, here the calendrum, the turquoise calendrum, which is going, versus the black wall, it's going to be a quite nice accent versus the black. But that is it on the dimensions. And if we take a look at some of the pictures, yeah, I was lucky. I was looking for a tank which was 180 by 60 by 40, but my local fish store, they were keeping 2 stores, but decided to shut down one. And they actually offered a really good deal on the tank here in the back. It's one of the fish tanks from the fish store. And actually also the sump, which I've glued, which we have a look at later, it's also from that fish store. But not in this dimension. But yeah, so it was a fish only tank from the store, and it had one downflow, but it was in the wrong place and in the wrong size. So I actually drilled 4 new holes and covered up the big hole, and then these 4 holes I covered with 3 sides of glass. And why did I do glass and not plastic? Yeah, because if anything happens and I need to drain the overflow, remove the PVC, I want something that really holds the pressure of the water, so I don't have to empty the full tank. So that's why I made it glass. And then why I made it 4 holes, initially I actually planned to do 2 downflows in 40mm PVC and the return in 32, but yeah, luck struck me. My father had actually salvaged the PVC from my old coral farm, which I think I closed 8 years ago or something like that. So I was able to reuse that, and that PVC was on in 32, and I didn't want a 32mm return and 32mm downflow, so I did 2 downflows in 32mm and then had a 3rd safety and then a return in 32. But that actually made that's one of the reasons, by skipping the 40 and going for 32, is one of the reasons I could reduce the size of the overflow. And the other one is actually making a more efficient stand. So here you can see on the next picture, yeah, then I put some black acrylic to cover the glass and also make it the overflow all black. And in the acrylic I actually have sawed the overflow comb, or the surface skimmer, so it's actually part of the black acrylic. And then also in the workshop I laminated the left side of the tank with black. I don't know if I want to keep it, but I think it's going to be nice. And it's aligning with the wall of the room. And I was thinking, should I laminate it black, or should I illuminate the wall with an LED, for instance, to have an illumination effect? But I think it's turquoise and black is going to look nice. Okay, yeah, PVC, we talked about it, why it was like it was. And on the safety side, yeah, so I have 2 downflows. If one clogs, I have a 3rd safety. It's unlikely that both will clog, but actually, as you see also on the safety side, I have 5 centimeters here. It's similar to what I had on the old tank. If all 3 clogs, and I'm pumping all of the water I have available in the sump, and if you calculate it, I don't have enough in the return section of the sump to actually flood this system. So it's quite safe for flooding. Yeah. So the risk or the problem I'll have with flooding is actually it's going to be all on the silicone on the glass on the side, which I need to maintain or have a look at, so see that there's no degradation on the silicone. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna have a look here if there's anything else in my 7-point list that I want to bore you with. No, it's I think it's about it. Let's have a look at the livestock. And now I remind you again, I'm gonna put some comments to this movie, but yeah, there was a guy commenting coral reefers 67, 64 something, and I really enjoyed. I enjoy all of the interactions. So feel free to interact and come with suggestions. And I think I can't promise, but I'll try to include or adopt or change as much as possible to for the feedback I get. I'll account for it. So I love it if you take the time to make a comment. And with that said, thank you for attention. See you next episode. Probably not with a 7-item list about how much I improved the stand. I'll try to skip the list or skip the engineering part, unless I do get a lot of engineering support in the comments. But yeah, I'll try to improve that.